Hey guys, Alpha Fish here, and today we are going to be talking about war gear. So, just different types of gear and different things you can do with gear, and we're going to be going over some gear items that are worth grabbing for free to play, and then some other stuff that will take much longer to acquire and upgrade to where it's actually useful. So, let's get to it. So, main thing I want to talk about with gear is how long it's going to take to get the materials. So when you first start out, you want to get certain gear pieces that are going to be easier to upgrade so you have something to work with. And then after you do that, you want to start working on a set that you're going to use later on down the road. And that set is going to take much longer to upgrade. So, what you want out of your gear really depends on what you want to do in the game. Um, I like to have a trapping set for my castles so I can take hits and survive. So I typically always sit in trap gear unless I'm doing research or hunting or something like that. Because I have like one piece of hunting gear. That's what happens when you're free to play. You don't spend money. So, um, I actually got that from Guildfest. But what I've done with my trapping gear is that I use all three attack gems for infantry, cavalry, and range, and I also put those three gems in all of my gear pieces. And before I even started making the gear pieces, I went and I got a piece of paper and I started writing down different gear pieces. And I basically had to figure out what my end stats would be after I fully upgraded everything. Because when you fully upgrade everything, you want them to be balanced for a trap set, right? So it took me several hours, but I eventually found items that wouldn't be too much of a pain in the butt to upgrade. And the reason for this is because some items have materials that are very hard to get. And I'd say one of the hardest materials to get are nope. Okay, so the halos. I'm looking for a Bon Appetit item. If I can find one real fast. Here, I'll just go to here. I'll show you Bon Appetit. Bon Appetit. These halos are one of the hardest items I've ever had to get in the game, like material wise. Like materials. Hardest materials to get, one of the hardest is these halos. They don't I think I've gotten maybe probably less than 5 from monster drops my entire gameplay, which is a little over 2 years. Probably less than 5. And I've gotten them in monster drops because I see them, but I don't always look at my mail. So I'm just taking a rough estimate. Probably less than 5. And they're so hard to get. So my trap set does have one item that has halos, but that is like my hardest item to upgrade. All right, my hardest item is this stupid chassis here. This thing's a pain in the butt just because of these halos. All right, so it's probably going to be a while before I get it to gold or purple. I mean, it's going to be a while before I get it to purple just because of these halos. All right. Um, so for beginning gear, so what you want to do is you want to look at the gear as if you're looking at the gear that you already have to gold, right? So that way you can see the final stats. Now, breakthrough, legendary, whatever you want to call it, it it's going to be very hard to get any war gear to this because the amount of not just the embers that you need for it, but all of the regular, like the rare resources you need for it too. So it's going to be very difficult. Now your beginner set, you're probably going to be throwing away before you get it to this stage, because you're at that point you're going to be more or less making a more long-term or in-game war gear set for yourself. That's going to be better than your beginning set. But your beginning set is going to get you through the beginning parts of the game with Rallying Darkness, so on and so forth. It's going to give you a little bit of a bump. A little bit of a bump in stats, okay? And it'll give you something to put your gems on, too. But for whether you're making beginner set or in-game set, what you want to do is I recommend for beginner set going to gold. In-game, you can look at orange if you want, okay? But you definitely want to look at gold at the very least. And what you're looking for is whatever stats that you need if you're doing a full cavalry blast, or you're doing full infantry, full range, or if you're doing cav infantry, 2 or even 3 attack types, right? So you want to look at those stats, and you want to find a gear piece that has a moderate amount of percent. See, look, ranged attack on this has 28%. But you need to look at it, and when you click on it, make sure you go to white, okay? You need to look at the rares. For this hat, this skull right here, the cursed skull, is the rarest material for this item's gear set, okay? This is the rarest material, and yeah, I have 16 of them, and 14 in one. But these cursed skulls are very hard to get. I used to use them a lot more for upgrading, but I don't anymore. That's why I have so many. But like you have to pick and choose your items wisely. For beginner sets, I recommend going after items that use simple materials that you can get from like gathering. Okay. Um, One of my favorite beginner gear piece for for beginner is the indulgent sauvage. Okay, I don't know if that's how you pronounce that, but this is very easy to upgrade. As you see, I have mine to gold. Okay, this isn't like gathering materials, but these 3 items are very easy to get from Bon Appetit, okay? So Bon Appetit's drop these all of the time. So this is a very easy item to upgrade. In fact, you'll probably get this to gold before a lot of your other your beginner set, okay? So um, just throwing that out there. With your beginner set, I would go for Indulgent Visage. I'd go for if I can find it. Go for what is it? Armor of the Abyss is really good to have for a beginner. Okay. Um, for boots, Griffin Walkers are pretty good, but they're a pain to make because of this item here. The Griffin Core is a rare item. So I if you're spending a little bit, I'd go for that. But if not, I would go for either Frostwing boots. Frostwing boots requires the heart, so no. Honeycomb chaps you can't go wrong with. I've actually had honeycomb chaps since my beginner set. They're very easy to make and very easy to upgrade. And they give a good amount of cavalry attack, okay? So this is always a good gear piece for even endgame. It's kind of low end for endgame because there's better stuff, but the better stuff's going to take you a lot longer if you want to beat that 12% cavalry attack, okay? So um, you always want to make sure that you're looking at the materials and how hard it is to get those specific materials. Terror Lash is really good. 27.5 infantry attack. I've used this for a while. I think um I was using the fiery tomahawk for a while. I switched to that whip. Venom Stinger is really good. Um, you're just gonna have to look around. So the fiery tomahawk is really good for beginner. So if you're a beginner, go for that. Um, for offhand, what did I use as an offhand? I think it was the Griffin's Talon. No, no, no. I used that for construction speed. I did use the Frostwing Shield for a while, but it doesn't really. I think I used it for the army max HP. Not sure why I used that. Uh, Lunar Scimitar is probably the best offhand weapon for a beginner to have. Super easy to upgrade, but I will warn you, it uses these platinums, which you get from gathering. But if you don't gather like me, it's kind of a pain. But it's worth upgrading. You see, I got mine to gold, okay? And I don't even use it anymore, and I wasted all of those materials upgrading it, okay? Because it's useful. So it's not really a waste. And it gives 9% range attack, which is pretty good for. It's really good for free to play and beginner. Okay. Um, as far as the accessories go, I would go for the Island Relic. Okay, I'd make 3 of these because it gives infantry and range attack. And when you're new to the game, you don't have all of those fancy phalanx unlocked, and you only have the one phalanx that's default. These are actually useful because it increases your infantry, which is your front line, and then your range is the last to get hit anytime someone hits you. So having that extra range damage is going to give a big benefit to your castle, especially because a lot of bigger players or pay to play players castles, they will send you full cavalry attacks because they know you only have or assume that you only have one phalanx. So having a bunch of ranged attack is going to benefit you a lot. I'm not saying that every attack will be cavalry, but majority of the time they'll send just a full cav blast. Okay, I don't know why people favor cavalry so much. I guess because a lot of people use infantry phalanx for default, just to sit around in, but they love cavalry attack for that's what they do. So having a bunch of range is going to really benefit you. So when it comes to like end game stuff, like I've said, you want to go through. We'll look at a few gear pieces. So you want to have a mix if you're doing trap gear like me. You want to have a mix of the stats, and some items or item sets lack a good. If I remember, if I'm trying to remember right, I think I was looking for infantry attack at one point with the either main hand or no, not main hand. I think it was the offhand. I couldn't really find a really good infantry attack. Not okay, but that's 10%. But if you're doing end game, you want better than 10%. That's good for like beginner sets, but not when you're going end game. So infantry attack 15, but this item, well, this item's actually not too bad to have 15% infantry attack, but I needed a lot more than that for my set because of the way that I was doing things. So I think I ended up going with Call of the Deep for my end game set. I'm sure you've seen that in my set at some point in my other videos, but I actually use Call of the Deep because I also get that cavalry attack, which I kind of needed a little extra cavalry attack when I was putting my set together. So, like I'm doing now, you're just going to have to go through it, and you're going to have to look at the items. One big tip, useful tip I will give you is to not get items, don't get all of your gear set items from the same piece. If you can, try to get a gear piece from different sets. Like try to have all of your gear set items or pieces from different monster sets. Because imagine if you had 4 gear sets that use this glistening pearl, okay? And you're thinking, "Oh, well that that shouldn't be too bad." This is a rare item, okay? If you've been playing the game for a while, you'll notice that you don't get a lot of glistening pearls, okay? So, if you have like 4 gear items that use this, it's going to take you a lot longer to upgrade those 4 gear pieces, okay? So, when you're putting your gear set together, make sure that the items that you're using for that gear set all come from different monster items or monster drops, okay? Because you're going to be able to put that piece, that set together a lot faster than you would if you shared. Now, I use terror vials, so I kind of screwed myself a little bit, but they're not terrible to put together. I mean, the Terrathorn seed is a rare item, but as you see, I've gotten mine, I think, to blue or purple. So I have 2 purple and 1 blue. So it's not been terrible for me to upgrade. So it's manageable. But for something like the Bon Appetit, like the Halo, if you have to use a gear piece from Bon Appetit that uses the Halo for upgrades, one. One. Because it's bad. It's bad. So, um, when it comes to like getting these items, what I suggest you doing is saving up um, your stars, your holy stars, and then coming over here. And once a week, if you click on the board here, the board picture, it'll show you what drops. So if you click on the treasure in that bottom corner, it'll show you what drops, okay? Save those up for several months. Don't spend them on anything, alright? And you check that every Friday, every weekend, you check that drop. And if it has items, because every once in a while it'll pop up like several different rare materials. Wait until the materials that you need appear in there, and just spend all of your holy stars in one sitting. Okay, that will really benefit you. It'll help you with your drops. Also, you can do events like Kingdom versus Kingdom, Kingdom Clash, whatever you want to call it, KVK. You get a lot of monster chests from that. Also, Guildfest will give you monster chests as well. So you really want to get as many monster chests as you can. Um, Also, hunting in general, guild gifts. Okay, you have chances to get materials from those as well as hunting. And you want to choose the middle level of monsters that you can attack. So if you can hit threes, go down to 2. I guess really just reduce, or if you want to be able to kill like 2 or 3, or at least get like more than 5 hits on the monster. So whatever level monsters you can attack, try to hit it 5 times. Every time your energy gets full. So for me, that's level 2. For you guys, that may be level 1, maybe level 3. Um, it really depends on how far you are with your monster research, but uh, getting those rare materials is really hard. It's not easy, and your final set is going to take you a long time to get up. But every time you upgrade something, you get a little bit stronger. So it makes a huge difference, especially with your gems. So I hope you've learned something from this. I hope I have taught you something. Make sure you get your pencil and paper and start planning out your future gear set. All right. Best of luck to you, and see you in the next one. Peace out.